I can't believe it. We made it. We made it through 2020, and it is episode 20 of Live at Hub.
Happy New Year!
Wow, Happy New Year, right? Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to be back. I missed you all so much. It has been a crazy end of the year for us. And I know everybody was going crazy with all of the news, but we also had the holidays. The holidays was a lot of fun. My birthday passed, which was fun. It was different.
When was your birthday?
The 22nd of December.
Mine's 23rd.
Stop.
Yeah.
Wait, I feel like we had this. We do this every year. Birthday buddies. It's a Capricorn
Capricorn.
thing. This is why we're like, you know. But yeah, we had our birthdays go by, and we just had New Year's, and so.
Wait, how did you celebrate
really
your
good
birthday?
experience.
Mine was an indoor celebration,
Same.
like blah.
Yeah, same. My mom made me a really cute cake. You know those cakes that you cut open and then like sprinkles and candy falls out of it?
No, I've never seen one of those.
It was. I've
Was
never
it like
seen it either.
a pinata cake?
Basically.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like definitely her own, but it was so cute, a lot of effort, and it was very nice. And I had a few of my friends come over. We had dinner. And
Did you take a picture of that? I'd
Yes,
love to see
I have
it.
a pic.
Yeah,
I have a
send me,
pic.
because I never seen that in my
I
life.
mean, it slowly trickled down, but
Wow.
she got it. She got it. So I got the point of it. So it was definitely great, and Christmas, but definitely different. But I'm looking forward to what this year has for us. And I'm actually looking forward to finishing this amazing book that the amazing Kimbra has created for us. So before we even get into the actual book, I want to go all the way back to where the idea of the book even came from. So this book is 25 years in the making, people. All right? This is not a day and night kind of thing. So please take us back and just let us know how you came into...
It was sort of a 25-year in the making. I've been fascinated with the case for about 25 years.
Wow.
The first time I heard about Lizzie Borden was like in 1980.
Wow.
So a friend of mine took me to the house, and I didn't even know where I was going, what we were doing. Here, we're going to Lizzie Borden. Okay.
Yeah, like, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then I got there and learned about the murder, and basically the case is in 1892, August 4th, and it was a morning of August 4th around 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10.
Okay.
There was a double homicide that happened in the Borden house,
Right.
where Abby Borden, who's Lizzie Borden's stepmother,
Right.
and the father were brutally murdered.
Like,
and
brutal, you guys.
Brutal. Like, Abby Borden was hacked in the head with a hatchet 19 times.
Yeah.
And Andrew 11 times.
11. Oh, my goodness.
So
imagine walking into that.
Well, if you even think about that, like just hitting somebody with a hatchet,
That's exhausting,
times.
you know? And then for a whole other person, that's...
Well, and the fascinating thing about the case was that murderer waited a whole hour
to do the other person.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they sort of had to hide in the house, and my whole thing was why,
Right.
why both of them. But anyway, that's the story.
But I mean, think about it. That she probably had to get her energy back, you know? Like, that's
yes,
a lot.
right.
Okay.
Right. No, you're on it. You're on
every
it.
time we talk about it, I start to come up with more and more ideas on how this could have went. And she did the same thing. And so that's why it started to trickle. And it's like an onion. There's so many layers to the story.
Yeah, you kind of get the Lizzie Borden bug.
Yeah.
I call it. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible too. It really is. You become obsessed a little bit with the case. But it's like with Jack the Ripper. People were the same way. The O.J. Simpson trial.
Yeah.
People still think that even though he was acquitted, that he's still guilty too for those crimes.
TV shows, movies, documentaries, like still to this day, like coming out.
Yeah. So basically, it started back in 1980, and I just, it's like anybody else. You want to learn more, and over the years, I visited the house probably like 5 times.
Wow.
And stayed in Lizzie Borden's room, stayed in the murder room, stayed in upstairs across from Bridget Sullivan's room.
In the murder room.
In the murder room.
Can I get a key to the murder room, please? Oh,
yes.
my goodness. How was that?
And I took people with me, too.
Oh, my
to
goodness.
experience.
Did you tell them? Like where they were going?
Well, actually, they knew.
Oh my goodness.
We got invited to do a mock trial in the house.
Yes, you mentioned the mock trial. So
Yes.
how was that? Like rehearsal and just
Well, it wasn't really rehearsed.
because everybody knew.
Everybody
about
knew the case,
yeah.
so there was a prosecution side and a defense side, and I was on the prosecution side, and I was a little obsessed with it.
You said you were like, I was kind of like pissed off that we lost, but
but we made this whole timeline, with you were going to say PowerPoint, I had a pointer, and I'm like, and it was a lot of fun, and of course, we kind of knew that we weren't going to win, but then that night, they had a paranormal investigation attached to those mock trials, which I really wasn't interested in. I was only interested in the trial, but I went ahead with it.
Yeah, which is an interesting idea to it. Especially being in the house.
It was creepy. And with anything paranormal, they always turn the lights down.
Right.
They make you scared.
Right.
But there's something to be said about that. I have to say that every time I've ever been in the house, when you walk in, I always felt a heaviness. Like, just my whole being just like sort of felt weighted.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was because of the anxiety of what happened in the house.
Just walking in here knowing what
or
happened. Yeah.
if, ghosts really exist.
Yeah.
And
control the energy.
I devote a whole chapter in this book with the paranormal and pop culture.
Yeah.
Because when the Lizzie Borden house, started as a bed and breakfast, there weren't ghost hunts there. But then it developed and
as stories came in, I guess.
All those TV shows, over 250 TV shows on the paranormal pushed that. And then that was the house to go to. One of them to investigate.
Ooh, creepy. I don't know.
The house is creepy though. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's it's laid out in what's called boxcar style, where there's no hallways. Like every room goes into a room. It's kind of hard to explain.
Really?
Like upstairs.
Well, it's all like the way it was before, like barely. It's all the same.
Oh well, it's you when you walk in the house, you feel like you're walking into the 1800s because they kept the house the same, right?
Wow.
But the rooms, like you go into the front door and there is a little hallway there, but you walk into the living room and then if you curve around, it goes into the dining room, to the parlor. Right. It's like the circular thing. Right. But the bedrooms upstairs go like bedroom. You walk through that. The door opens into another bedroom.
It's just walls.
Yeah, just walls and doors that separate them. So the locked doors
don't really do anything.
Well, the locked doors were very specific, very pertinent to the trial because there's really no place to hide.
Right, exactly.
Because everything was locked up tight. So and at one point, the house was separated because Andrew and Lizzie had a falling out, and Andrew locked the doors in between sort of like the front of the house and the back of the house. Okay. So the girls, Lizzie Borden and her sister, only had access to the front of the house upstairs. Okay. And the Bordens, the back of the house where their bedroom and stuff were. Okay. So a murderer coming into the house, there was only one way in, and it was the back rear door. Right. Would have had to go through the kitchen, through the parlor, up the front stairs.
Right. Could have made themselves a sandwich, got themselves a drink before they went up there.
And know exactly where Abby was. Yeah. Exactly where, with Lizzie's room right there. Mm-hmm. I mean, just the whole case is.
Yeah, you really got to know the house to.
You do. Yeah. You have to know the layout.
To really go through it so swiftly like that.
And know where to hide.
Right.
Yeah. So, like visiting the house and with people, we came up with a bunch of scenarios of, well, could this really happen? Yeah. Could you hear noise in the house? If Lizzie... So the story is Lizzie was the only one in the house for both the murders. Okay. The second murder, Bridget Sullivan, the maid...
was there as well.
Was there, but she was upstairs sleeping on the third floor.
And in this time, were these houses made of wood or
pretty
stone?
Solid? The house is very solid. I mean, it's still there. Mm-hmm. It's really solid. And if you're there alone, you can hear things. Right. Like you would be able to hear somebody walking around. Okay. Let alone a murder
someone
19 times in the head. Right. And the person, Abby, she weighs around 220 pounds. Right. Falls to the
hit
floor,
that impact.
I mean, you would know.
Yeah. And then the screaming and just.
If there was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's crazy.
So I just got absorbed with the case and I started... all the books that are written basically focus on the murder, the forensics, the trial, and I wanted to focus on the women.
Okay, I like that.
And, thus incorporating other murderous women into the story of that time period. Right. Because I sort of came up with the conclusion that living back then, women were really oppressed. Yeah. Because if they owned anything, it would they couldn't own anything. Right. Everything belonged to their husband, all their money. If they married, everything went to their husband.
And it was really taking care of the kids, take care of the house.
That's it.
There's nothing in between.
No, unless they had a job as
like a teacher
or a nurse, and that was it. But usually, if they had those jobs, they'd never married. Right. So it was like that was their career.
Right. So they would just put their all into that.
What is interesting about Lizzie Borden, she was a spinster. At the time of the murder, she was 32 years old and never married. And there's a lot of... I've tried to understand why. Right. And,
Right. Like, I just lifted my eyebrows like, Like, that's a good... that could have been a reason why she was so aggravated and pissed off, too,
Well, I started the book out with the history of her growing up as a child, and there was a lot of comments during the murder trial, but teachers like wrote letters to the newspapers and stuff saying how she was peculiar, like her friends and teachers. So there was always something about Lizzie Borden that was strange. Like she was a little off.
So she was always the strange.
A little off. And I suspected, because it seemed like just the descriptions of the letters and comments, she would get really depressed.
Yeah.
Like on a very low thing. But then she would have these up periods.
Yeah.
So
even that picture of her, that last picture you have of her, like that face that she has, like that chilling smile, that's kind of like she's up to something.
It was a smirk.
Yeah. Like, just looking at it, it's like this picture that you guys can't see it, but in the background right now, like he's freaking me out. Oh my goodness. But that just looking at her face, she's kind of like, like, I don't even know how to describe it.
Well,
but
that picture was taken right after she was acquitted.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
That's my favorite picture of her because she was holding a book in her hand, too. And her finger, like if you look closely, it's on a page. It's holding a page. And I always thought, what the hell was she reading that day?
Yeah.
But she was an avid reader. She read a lot. So her book collection equivalent, like if books were like 50 cents,
right?
Probably today it would be worth about maybe $12,000. Wow. So she had a shitload of books. She read about everything. Wow. And she belonged to some women's clubs. I bookmarked some things so I could, because I know if there's any Lizzie Borden people out there, they're going to want me to be correct.
Yeah.
And if I say anything that's wrong, please just, shout it out, because nobody's perfect with this case. But she belonged to the Women's Christians Temperance Union.
I'm going to show everybody the book.
Women's Christians Temperance Union. And they were strong. They had a strong position with women's rights. She belonged to the Women's Union Club, and they helped women with finding places to live. And she belonged to a lot of she was a member of the Christian Endeavor Society. So she belonged to all of these clubs and stuff. And back in that time period, also, the women's suffrage movement was going strong for women's rights.
Right.
So if she was an avid reader, you would think that she knew about all of these things. So I think my book focused on, like, what motive could she have had.
Right.
And there's many scenarios of that, because her father was one of the richest men in Fall River at the time.
So it could have been a money situation.
Well, I think it was a money situation, but I think it was more too about losing her identity, like herself.
Definitely.
And not, wanting to play by the norms that were dictated, like a patriarchal society back then. Because 3 months before the murder, her father gave her a gift, and it was to go on a European tour into Europe. Wow. And she got to experience the rich life. And could you imagine coming back to a home that Mr. Borden was pretty much went by the rules of the society, which was the man, he was the man of the house, and what he said goes. Right. That's it. So
once you got to see outside of that and have to come back, she's like, oh no, we got to change a few things around here.
Well, yeah, and she was all, even before she went, she kept trying to want to change things. She always wanted to live more fulfilled life up on the hill with her cousins. They all lived very rich lives. Yeah. So, and don't get me wrong, the Borden house had things that were conveniences too. They had heat.
Which was a luxury, you guys.
Yes. They had running water in the kitchen, I think in the barn, and they had like a toilet down in the basement. Yeah. So, I mean, they did have some conveniences. Okay. But I don't think it was ever enough for her.
Right.
She
set her standard high.
I think she wanted to be like a new woman with more independence.
Yeah, definitely.
but something always held her back. And that's why I come back to this mental thing, with, I really feel in my gut that she maybe was possibly bipolar.
Okay. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. Definitely.
And things like that were not diagnosed back then at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Because, anytime anything mental, it was just straight crazy asylum, shun them out of the community. Don't even look into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
you were saying even the police force was flawed.
Well, their investigation was shabby, to say the least. I mean, so back then in 1892, I believe, and, you guys can look it up, Google it.
Let us know.
I think the Borden photos at the crime scene were very first forensic photos that were ever taken on a crime scene.
That's sick.
I'm pretty sure.
What?
So,
and for it to be people's heads hacked open. Whoa. That's a good one.
Well, yeah, and they moved Abby Borden's body to position her better because I think her dress was up. You could see her backside. So they pulled her dress down. I think they pulled her out from under the bed because I think she tried to crawl in under the bed. And Mr. Borden, I think, was adjusted a little bit, pulled up more on his photos.
Yeah.
So if you look at them, though, and like the photos of their skulls and stuff, it was really ugly.
Are they like just out? Like, can I just Google that?
Yeah, you can. You can Google these photos. Yes. Just crime scene photos, Lizzie Borden.
Ooh.
Also, back then, they had cooling tables for dead bodies. So my book is very descriptive, and it has some blood and guts in it, and sometimes it could be a hard read for people.
Yeah.
And I've had some great reviews, but in some of those reviews, they said they love it, but beware because there's some disturbing things in it.
There was a good one. The one that stood out to me, I was telling you earlier, The Witch of Staten Island. Of course, obviously. But
that's sad.
That one was tough. But I was reading, and I was just like, I was like, this is a page turner. And she's like, really? It's so gruesome. I'm like, no, I love it. Like growing up with my grandmother, I was telling her earlier before the show started, just watching Forensic Files, SVU late at night. Even my mom to this day, she's like, you want to watch some SVU? Normally people are like, you want to watch the Kardashians or something crazy like that. But we're the kind of family to watch forensics over dinner. So it's pretty cool. So I definitely am interested in getting through the entirety, and also just the art in front done by Erin.
Well, yes, that's a friend of ours, both of ours, Erin K. Kilbane. And, I selected the correct artist to do the front cover. I didn't expect what she had done. She made Lizzie into sort of a superhero.
Yeah.
Which, she was kind of a superhero. If you take my point of view, like women's rights and that kind of thing, and I think she had a lot of things like inside her that wanted to come out, but it came out in a really nasty way.
Yeah. And even the fact that she's still so mysterious, this whole following, and still to this day, it's still not entirely certain exactly how it went down.
Well, there's one, in fact, I did a podcast last week with two other authors who wrote Lizzie Borden books.
Yes. I was just going to ask, how was it about gaining friends throughout this experience?
Oh, it's great.
And I'm like, I remember when I came, she had the book signing a few days ago, and we were all chilling. It was a great time. And I was learning so much about the case, and between her and her two friends who were at the book signing, they were just enlightening me on so much. And their passion about it, you could see that they really do take this research seriously, and there really is so many ways that this could turn.
Yeah.
And just by sitting in the room with you guys for a few minutes, you start to get engulfed, and you're like, like even going home, I was like, no, I have to get through some of this book. I started looking it up, and then I'm just going through murder cases. Like, you really start, it's like a craze. Once you start, you can't stop, because it's just so interesting how it starts from something so small and turns into just such a big spectacle. It's insane.
I think everybody has their theories,
yeah,
which is great.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
What's your ultimate?
Well, my ultimate theory is she definitely did it.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm leaning towards she did it. And I feel like she's like, I feel like it's like a badass move.
I think it was a desperate move at the time because the night before there was a conversation between Mr. Borden, Abby, and her uncle John Morse in the sitting room, and they, it's suspected that Mr. Borden might have been working on a new will, or there was some catalyst that she snapped, because that same night she was over at her friend's house, Alice Russell, telling her that something really bad is going to happen.
Down, yeah.
So she sort of like premeditated it almost. Like she was already like prepared to do it.
Right.
And then even the day before the murders, she tried to purchase poison, prussic acid.
Yeah. And even in the beginning of the book, you said that a murder takes a lot of stealth and planning.
Oh, listen to you. Oh, you are right. Yeah, yes, it does.
It's my girl here, you guys. Okay? For real. This is so my
funny.
girl. And if you're into, like, really, there's something about books that, especially with these kinds of themes, when you're telling a real true story, it's really important for your readers to go there. Like, I want to be able to, like, when I'm sitting in my room, I want to be shooken up, like, and so she gets very in detail, and just like the way that she describes blood in the book, that's just what, like just the way that she describes blood in the book, it really goes deep, and you can picture just the pigment of it. So it really is cool to really go through this, and it's nice to know that, like, you're not the only one who's super, like, obsessed about these creepy stories.
Yeah.
And that there are people who really take the time to dig through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say, though, too, the women living back in that time period, that's the reason one of the reasons I included them in this book is because I wanted to show the similarities between them and Lizzie Borden, and possibly, one of the reasons why Lizzie Borden might have done the crime too.
What she did, yeah.
So I'm going to read you a little excerpt from one of the women. She wrote a letter. Like, I include a lot of letters, a lot of photos, and it's to help aid in putting you back in that time period. But this was written by Marie Lafarge, who poisoned her husband. So she wrote this letter while she was sitting in jail, and she said, "I allowed myself to be married in a daze, but when I came down to earth, I was revolted. I had abandoned my dowry, my will, my life itself to one who had married me in order to restore his business with my fortune, adorn his parlor with my person, and complete his life with my poor life. But I announced I would only give my love if the love was returned. And the reward I received for it, my candor? Death, dishonor, and perpetual agony."
Wow.
So these women were almost like trapped in
the relationship,
and they couldn't get out, because even then, divorce, you couldn't get a divorce.
Yeah, frowned upon, like, divorce.
Right. Well, legally you couldn't get a divorce. In England, I think in like 1 year, there was only maybe like 10 divorces that were allowed by women.
Wow.
So what would happen is these women would go to stay somewhere else, like in a workhouse or, just to get away. But I have to say that it was really a hard time. Yeah. And men being in charge of everything. So if, say, you acted a little weird or or like you rebelled against something, they could put you away just like that in an asylum or workhouse.
And little to no investigation needed.
Well, no, they didn't need anything. I wanted to read you.
That's insane.
I have a whole chapter devoted to asylums, and I wanted to read you the list where women could legally be put into an asylum. Okay, so
it really does show how much we've come to, Now that we're here, we're able to sit on a podcast and be free and walk down the street and not have to worry about our husbands, you know? And there's so many other countries now that, you know, being in America, we don't realize it as much, but there's some places that women are still not able to leave the house without their husbands or look up without permission, you know? So this is crazy. And that, you know what, leads people to murder. I don't think it's too, you know, listen.
So,
do what you got to do.
A sample of documented reasons to be committed to an asylum between 1864 and 1889.
All right, guys, let's see.
Included imaginary female trouble.
Okay, admit me.
Menstruation. Okay. Hysteria. Religion.
Okay.
Laziness. Masturbation.
Oh, that's just cruel.
Menstrual derangement. What do they mean by menstrual derangement?
PMS. Yes. That's what they mean.
Domestic trouble. Superstition. Political views.
Oh, goodness.
And
she would have to be admitted.
Yes.
We would both be in the asylum right now.
Like 5 times.
We would have been all up and down the asylum right now.
And the last one was really crazy. Oh, astonishingly, reading novels.
Okay.
So reading
novels.
Now bear in mind, this is only a partial list. It was more. So
reading novels, though?
So yes, so wow. Women that, well, maybe they thought you would learn too much.
Right.
You know,
it makes sense. Like, you would learn too much and want to rebel.
Right. Mm-hmm. So women feared being put away.
Yeah.
Back then. And honestly, I would too. And I think you know, so they lived under this mask of...
Hey, Lori.
I did. They lived under this... They did have friendships. So if women had really strong friendships and created bonds among themselves...
Yeah. Because that's all they really could go to outside of the household.
Right, but they were really strong bonds. Mm-hmm. Thus, the day of the murders, when Lizzie's friends, Alice Russell... was there. Hey, Lori, thanks. Appreciate that. I think she knew what was going on, but because they had such this bond, like it was almost like, you know how the guys have the old boy club?
Yeah.
Well, the girls had the old girl club.
Oh, absolutely.
And even if they knew something, they would never tell.
No, absolutely.
Never in a
girl
years.
Code.
And all of these girls and women kept silent. No one ever talked about this case. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it so interesting, too.
Yeah. To see how many people was on her side.
Peep.
Yeah.
Not a peep out of any of them.
Yeah. So, but that brings up suspicion, too, right?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Listen, that's what real friends do. Okay, if anybody was wondering, don't snitch. Snitches get hacked with accents 11 and 19 times, okay? That's crazy, though. This story is definitely, I could see why it becomes something that you want to continue to unravel.
Yeah, and you know what? Not a lot has changed with women.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the other thing, too. We constantly, every day, struggle for rights.
Yeah.
Most recently in the Congress, they were trying to ditch the Roe versus Wade.
Yes.
You know, and like, they you know, it just seems like everything is thrown at us to try to take away, you know, the advancement. Like, we've come a long way. Yeah. And in fact, back then, was it the 19th Amendment? And yeah, here's where I'm going to go bad with dates. But black men were allowed to vote.
Yes.
Before women
were.
Mm-hmm. And I'm good for them. First of all, kudos. I'm happy for that.
But also,
right. They should have done both.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
I was just the other day I was having a conversation with one of my roommates, and we were going through statistics of how many jobs have been lost and gained between men and women during the pandemic.
Oh.
And it is just, and I'm saying over 150,000 jobs have been lost by women. Meanwhile, men have gained more positions.
Really?
In this time. Yeah. I mean, obviously it looks, from our point of view, it doesn't seem so much that way, but as in an overall point of view, they're gaining, because you have to think about it, you know, I work at a garbage company, right? So we've had a lot of new drivers and helpers and new people come along because, you know, it's a pandemic. I'll do anything at this point. You want to pick up garbage, I'll do it. So, but it's a man's job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it becomes a lot of the women's jobs were jobs that now we can do from home. That now artificial intelligence can do.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's weird.
So, like,
it's like weird, right?
It's so weird.
It's see so those robots weird. In the grocery store.
Yeah, that are just like moving around. You're not really sure if it's cleaning or if it's like scanning your name.
I freaked out the first time I saw one of those because I'm like, what the hell is that? Like,
I'm like, is this the new security guard?
Creepy.
And I'm like, I don't know what it is. And they're huge.
Yeah, they're very tall.
Yeah, they don't make sound, so they just sneak up on you. It's
but
weird.
Amazon's a big company too. That you know they have their conveyor. Well, they're changing things all that types it's all of automated,
and it's so dangerous.
I've heard stories. Yeah, but what has changed is delivery. They had to pick up on delivery drivers because it was so, you know, people were ordering online so much that they couldn't deliver.
Yeah. And surprisingly, right now it's their slow season and it is empty. Surprisingly, like during Christmas and Thanksgiving and those times, they have about 8,000 people on a shift, each shift.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and they're 24 hours. So, and now it's probably down to about less than 5. Oh. You know? So, but just you saying, you know, with women back then and us now, much has changed, but much hasn't changed, for sure. You know, so I would definitely agree with that.
I mean, look at all the struggles with, I think it was like last year or 2 years ago with Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
They were shutting all the Planned Parenthoods down. I mean, you know, just like you have a dog with a broken leg, just kick him in the leg and bring him down. Right. You know, more. It's horrendous what has been going on.
Yeah, Staten Island. The Planned Parenthood on this side of the island is the first on the island to actually do the pill abortion. So you can't get an abortion anywhere on Staten Island.
Yeah.
That was like not a thing up until about a year ago. And you can't have the procedure. You can only have the pill option. And the pill option, you're only able to take up until about 14 weeks. So if you pass that 14-week mark, you have to have this baby. Yeah. Unless, you know, you obviously want to take the boat ride. Which, ladies, if it's not that bad. If you're from Staten Island, just hop on a boat, Bleecker Street. There's plenty of... You have to... Whether you're in the situation or not, there's so many women out there that are dealing with these problems as far as reproduction and you know...
and Planned Parenthood was there to help.
Yeah.
To educate. More to educate.
Yeah.
And it not only affected the U.S., it affected third world countries because their money got cut off too. So young women were dying giving birth and you know, like once again out in the fields just dropping children.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. Back then too, there was this one doctor who wrote about women to help them with learning about contraceptives. So he wrote this book, I think it's called The Flowers of Life, something like that. But it was an educational book.
Oh, goodness.
You know, that man got arrested and put in jail to 3 months of hard labor and a $50 fine, which it was a lot back then.
Right. But that doesn't...
For obscenity. They called it obscenity. So I was just like, wow.
Like, yeah, like, right? That's all you can...
Wow. It must have been really, really hard for a woman to live back then. And like I said, we can still discuss women's journeys today and the struggles that we still have. Yeah. Even like condescending remarks.
Yeah, right?
You know, something as simple as that, you know, is still happening. And show some respect.
Like, and you know which one is really, I think, the worst? When I'm walking down the street and someone tells me that I should smile more. And I'm just like... you know, like, I'm the opposite of smiling right now. Don't talk to me. You know?
If I wanted you to know what I was thinking, I'd be talking.
Right. Like, get out of here, dude. Like, I'm just trying to make this bus right now. Because if you didn't know, I'm 40 minutes late to work. No. But, yeah, it's just the small inconveniences like that. Have you seen The Handmaid's Tale?
Yes.
Oh,
that's scary. That's very frightening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But
I'm hopeful though that
let's be positive and see what comes down this year.
If we have more women like you who are putting in the work to uncover these mysteries and really take the time to go through them, and then even use other stories from other people to show the correlation of that it's not just about a woman reaching her breaking point, but it's the fact that she has to get to that point to finally be heard.
Yes,
or for people to
good.
finally want to understand.
Yeah,
you know,
it's so true.
So I think it's
You're
very
spot
deep.
on with that.
Yeah, I think it's very deep. You know, and I really applaud women like you, because it's hard as a woman to continue to show the world what women deserve. You know, because it's like every time we get a chance we're shut down, or there's another
there's still not equal pay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, let's not go
right. Oh God, we can go there all day, people. But it's we have to have these.
And don't
books
get me wrong, I love
men.
men. You know, it's like, but still, come on, they should love us too.
Listen,
like in respect.
Who's gonna take care of the kids? All right, really.
Well, there are some Mr. Moms.
There are. And shout outs to you guys, because
but the woman's making the money too then to be a Mr. Mom, right?
Takes two to tango, you guys. Not even. You can teach yourself how to tango. But I really enjoy the design of the book. This is soft cover.
It's soft cover.
Cover.
And there's a hardcover too.
Yes, the hardcover is very nice.
And there's Kindle, like digital.
The pictures on the back. Whenever I meet someone who I actually know who publishes a book, I always want to know the process of it, because I just, you know, it's such a bit. It looks so daunting, you know, and so I know that it probably took a lot of.
It took 2 years.
Yeah.
But
tell me about the process of it.
Well, there was a lot more research into it.
Yeah.
Because everything I have in the book, I wanted to make sure that I got it from a reliable source. Yeah. Because the Lizzie Borden fans are brutal. You know? Really? Yes. Okay. If you get something wrong, they'll be like, that's not right. So I wanted to make sure, to the best of my ability, that I got the sources correct. And then I sort of molded a story around that. I wasn't going to put other murderous women in the book originally.
Okay.
But after, you know, researching, it's funny, like when you go on the online libraries and start researching, you see other stuff and you're like, oh, and you always end up getting sidetracked.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, let me learn about the Salem witch trials.
Right, like I was looking up on Lizzie Borden and I just seen this crazy, and you gotta hear it. Yeah.
You get lost, so you have to be very focused on what you're looking for, what message you're trying to convey.
Definitely.
And very simply, mine was about women's rights in the 19th century,
and that gives it even a better understanding. You know, if you're reading other people's stories as we're going through the main story, it kind of gets easier to understand.
Because I had a lot of comments like, why are you writing another Lizzie Borden book? There's been so many written. And that's so true. And there's been so many movies, you know, so what more could you have to offer?
Right.
So where it's at now, and Shelley was talking on the show last week about it, there's still information that still isn't uncovered with the Lizzie Borden. Right.
And it's happened how many years ago now?
128.
Yeah.
So one is the Knowlton Papers, which I recently got the book. It's the prosecution attorney's notes, all his notes he took during the trial. And also, I think there's some from the defense attorney. And the defense attorney's office has all trial information that's under lock and key that has never been revealed because of a Supreme Court case that came out that was a vote of 6-3 saying that even after you're dead, attorney-client privilege still remains intact.
Wow.
So I said to myself, what if...
Who knew?
What if Lizzie Borden did confess to her defense attorney, right? And it's in there. I don't think I'd want to know that because that's what makes a case so fun.
Exactly. And all of this, it would be like, oh, well.
You know, nobody would visit the bed and breakfast anymore. Case solved.
It's like the worst ending to a show. You know, like a series. Like that's like if they ended Grey's Anatomy.
I don't watch that. Is it good?
I mean, my mom watched it, but it's like 18 seasons in, and they're still going. You know, so it's like if you ended that, it would be like, really?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. I think I'm down with that. Absolutely. I think keep that locked in there, and let us continue
our journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can figure it out on our own.
In contrast, so I've been to the Borden murder house, right? So I drove Kenny crazy one day because
this is hilarious. I wish I would have seen that.
Maplecroft is up for sale, which is the mansion that she lived in after she was acquitted. She bought this beautiful mansion. There's like 6 fireplaces, you know.
Oh wow.
So I said I got to make a trip before they sell it. I have to see the house.
Yeah.
So we were allowed to go. Wow. I got up it was like, you know, remember Christmas Eve as a kid? Yeah. You're waiting. You're all excited for Santa to come, and those presents are there, and
it's like no sleep, up all night.
That was me before going to Maple. And
no
I got
rest. She's like, let's go.
2 hours sleep, and we got up at 6 a.m. It's like a 5-hour drive, so we weren't staying at a hotel. Yeah. So we went there. We toured the house. Took about 2 hours, and then we drove back.
Got something to eat and got out of there. Oh my goodness.
It actually took longer than 12 hours because right in the BQE, you know, the bathtub section,
yes,
we were stuck in traffic for like an hour.
If there's anyone watching that's not from New York City, let me tell you a little something about the BQE. Don't go there.
No, it's
go any other way but the BQE.
Yeah. So, in contrast with, you know, the house she grew up in, and then the Maplecroft. Even one thing like the garage, right? Now she started off with horse and buggy, but then she ended up buying 2 cars, and in the garage she had her own gas pump.
Yes, you were telling me this, and it was like heated, and everything.
The garage was heated, and then they drove their car onto this plate that swiveled, so they didn't have to back up. It just the plate just turned.
Yeah,
that's a lot of wealth.
Yeah,
just for that time period. And the house had like 6 fireplaces. The servants lived on the 3rd floor. I mean, the house is beautiful. Wow. It's all it's amazing. However, you know, the people that had visited Maplecroft always said, "Oh, it's so grand, so brilliant. It's so light and airy." And I didn't feel that way at all.
No.
No. I walked in there. I felt again
very
a heaviness,
grounded, and
because even though Lizzie had everything she ever dreamed of, I think she was still very depressed and sad.
And had a burden
because everybody ostracized her after the trial, and her only friends were really her servants.
Yeah, like how can you even live a normal life after that, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and even if people didn't believe you did it, the fact that you're even involved in something like that is still, you know, kind of crazy, you know? So it's like, I definitely would see that. But, I mean, what about her? I wonder if she ended up staying friends with her friend from across the way. The one that never told or never said anything?
No. Alice Russell?
Yeah.
Alice Russell, after the trial, she never spoke with Lizzie or her sister Emma again. Because, and Alice Russell is actually the one that changed the course, in that there would have never been a trial if it wasn't for Alice Russell.
Right.
The inquest testimony, she was going to testify, and then they wanted to take a break because it was Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So in that break time, she had a change of heart and said that she saw Lizzie burn a dress. And then she told that to the grand jury, and they came back and they said, yes, there's going to be a trial. The dress she is talking about, we talked about it at length on the last podcast last week, but supposedly it was the dress she wore when she murdered Abby and Andrew. And the murder was on a Thursday. She burned the dress on a Sunday. So she got rid of the evidence.
She's doing everything in such a gapped fashion. Like, she killed one, take a break, kill the other, take a break, burn the clothes, take a break, get rid of the axe. And you said they found the axe, but it just had no blood.
Well, they found the hatchet. There's a difference between an axe and a hatchet. Okay. An axe is big. A hatchet's small. Right. You can hold it in your hand. Okay. So a woman would be very capable of holding a little little hatchet.
This whole thing I'm thinking, hatchet, axe, boom.
Yeah, and I mean, like they actually have in the Fall River Historical Society like a bunch of those things that were in the trial, and one is the hatchet head. Yeah. I don't buy for a minute that the hatchet head that they have is the actual hatchet, because during the trial, they found out that there was another hatchet found on the neighbor's rooftop, and that
a random hatchet.
Yeah, Abby Borden had it's called gilt. It's like a metal. When you find in like new hatchets and new like screwdrivers and stuff, it's like that shiny metally
the shavings,
sparkly kind of thing. Yeah. They found it in her wounds, which meant it was a new hatchet that was used. And that one they found on the roof was a new hatchet, but that went missing. It just disappeared, and no one knows where it went to. And they didn't bring it up in the trial because it would make the prosecution look like jerks. If they're halfway through the trial and all of a sudden, no, we don't have the correct murder weapon.
That's terrible, though. That's horrible that they could.
Shabby, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very shabby.
That's crazy.
But the lawyers were paid a great amount of money, and a lot of things went missing.
Right.
You know, even
hush money and all types of.
I think so, and they paid people off. I mean, there's a lot of things we don't know, but
absolutely,
yeah.
Wow.
So
even back then, it's just shady, all types of corruption. Yeah. Wow, and obviously,
well, it's OJ. Look how much he paid for his lawyers.
That's true.
He paid a shitload of money to them, and he got off. If the glove fits, what was that line? I'll never forget it. If the glove doesn't fit, you can't, or you must evict.
I don't. Wait, what was it, Kenny? You know it?
If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. I'll go to sleep tonight hearing that. But
that's crazy. That was a good
and you know they allowed him to try it, and what a fake job that he's like I can't get it on, you know. It's like,
it fit perfectly.
I think
it fit perfect. His size to a T. That's crazy.
And he also wrote a book after he got off, like a couple years later. Yeah. And I think it's if I Did It or something it's called.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, and it's a whole scenario. He basically laid out like the scenario of how he would kill Ron Goldman and Nicole if he did it. Lizzie Borden did the same thing.
Yeah.
She did. She had one interview while she was in jail by Mary Livermore, who was who started the Women's Home Journal. Okay. And, you know, Women's Home Journal supported women's suffrage all through it. And she was a really, like, brilliant lady. So she was allowed to interview Lizzie in jail. And Lizzie practically, you know, said, well, if I would have done it, you know, I would have done it at nighttime, and I would have done it this way. And it's like, wow, when I heard that, she's not so dumb.
Yeah.
You know, you listen to things like that, and
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. If I would have did it, I would have did it this way. But I didn't do it. I promise. I swear. That's insane. Yeah. Wow. And, you know, it's so funny. There's so many documentaries and movies about people who are in jail for crimes that they haven't committed. Yeah. And they're just, you know, at some point, sometimes people are in there for so long that they just, you know what? I'm stuck in here. I'm just gonna ride it out, you know? Yeah. But then there's some that are like, no, I have to fight this to the end. I think there was a story of someone recently, a few months ago, who had just got out of jail for doing like 15 years, and they closed his case and brought it back open.
Did they find DNA to let him out? Or?
Yeah, it was something like that. It's on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, that always happens.
Yeah, which is like insane. And
back then they didn't have fingerprinting or anything like that. So which is, it was just like you eye it. Well, yeah, it looks good.
Right. And the fact that that's how it was treated, and the fact that years and years and years later there's so many different ways, like, it just goes to show you that you guys could have just did a little bit more work and the answer just would have been found.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't know. Well, I mean, it's because she's a woman, right? That they didn't want to dig deep that, you know?
Yeah, men had trouble venturing into things like menstruation because the defense could have took a couple different ways for her defense case.
Right.
They found a pail of bloody towels in the basement, which they really couldn't determine what type of blood.
Right.
I mean, human blood, of course, but was it from menstruation? They had no DNA.
Right.
But they did not want to venture in the court talking about it because it was really
because they're scared of a little.
No, it's a very personal thing for a woman back then.
True.
You know, they had fainting couches and stuff. Wouldn't you love that today if you got your period, you just fainted on a couch? Leave me alone.
I would love a fainting couch. Like, I can't right now. I'll be back.
It sort of gives you a night off not to deal with anyone. Right?
That's
just
great.
Leave me alone. I'm fainting on the couch. But they
insane.
didn't discuss that. They could have took a case of mental illness, but you know what? They had a really good case because they basically showed her as a proper Christian woman.
Mm-hmm.
And no man in their right mind back then is going to send a woman like that to the gallows.
Right.
They're not.
Right.
The jury just hung out for a little bit. They probably played cards or something, right. And then they came out. And,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and they said no. And they actually said in the very beginning of the book, there's this picture of the jury.
Yes, that she hung up, right?
Yeah, she hung it up in Maplecroft. Like, that's they sent insane. It to her as a gift.
Right, like
you know, here, this woman's trial, and they're sending
this is not a good thing. Like, these aren't my friends.
Right. It's so weird, right?
But I'm going to hang it up because friends close, enemies closer, you know?
Well, I just find it weird that they wanted to send it to her.
That's so strange.
Like the old boys, we saved you.
Right.
You know, damn.
That's very shady. And for her to take it, that's also like,
yeah,
I'm not bothered by this. If anything, I'm going to hang it in my kitchen and look at it every morning, you know?
Yeah.
Because I made it. I got out of it, you know? And I think that's really cool. I think this is a cool
I think
story.
Everyone should visit the Borden house I'm just to give it a go.
I'm inspired.
Yeah, it's fascinating, like, when you get there, and the paranormal aspect is really huge. It just like exploded overnight with visiting the house. So
definitely go with people, not by yourself. Might get hacked.
The very first time I went to the house, I slept in my clothes.
You said
I did because I was afraid something was going to happen. If I had to run out of the house, I'm
not sleeping at all.
No,
I'm gonna be like.
And
very
like,
alert.
One of the bathrooms on the second floor was her clothing closet, but they turned it into a bathroom.
Didn't your friend say that, like, while she was there, she kept feeling something on her head?
Yeah. Like, can you imagine that? I was bathroom, like, no. Like, taking a shower?
Right. Like, what? Oh, my goodness. No, I'm sorry. I can't. That's too real for me. She said that while she couldn't get any sleep because she kept feeling someone was tugging at her head in the house where people were hacked in the head multiple times. Like, no. You know, because maybe it's the ghost trying to, like...
Maybe it's Andrew has a headache.
Yeah. And it's trying to, like, make you feel how they felt. Like, I got hacked in the head, so now you feel my pain, and you're, oh my goodness.
What's really interesting, a lot of the paranormal investigators that investigate that house, though, they get, like, ghosts talking to them, but not from the Bordens, from, like, neighboring, like, something else that has happened to somebody. Before that, or around just them. Around that area. Like, I don't know, it's really...
It's another theory. Maybe she was possessed.
Oh, that's really out there, but okay. I mean, I don't shoot down anybody's theory. You can run with that one.
I like that one. Yeah. Maybe we can, you know.
So a little creep story. So the first time that Miriam and Darlene and Kenny went up to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was preparing for it because we were going to do that mock trial.
Yeah.
And I got a flat tire like 2 weeks before. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, I got a flat tire. Yeah. You know, we all get it. But then I have these kitchen lights, these plastic lights that go, these caps that go across the kitchen lights. They popped off. So I have a strip this way and a strip this way. Yeah. Not one, but both of them popped off. And I thought, that's really strange. And I put them on. I think they popped off like 2 or 3 times.
Right.
I'm like, what the heck?
Right.
You know?
Like, now I'm getting pissed off.
Yeah. So, and then we got there, and the first night we stayed in a hotel. We're going out to dinner, and we're saying, like, we're going to go look at the gravesite.
Yeah.
The muffler fell off of my car.
And this was the gravesite of Lizzie Borden?
Yeah. So the muffler fell off of my car. And I'm like, I had to call a tow truck.
Yeah.
We were stuck
all
in
of
the
this.
hotel.
Yeah.
All this in like 2 weeks. And, you know, yada, yada, yada. We go home 2 years later. I'm finishing up the chapter. And the last chapter of the book's like, oh, come on. She did it.
Right. Right. Oh, my goodness.
Do you know those plastic caps?
Started falling again.
Popped off again?
Oh my God.
And Kenny's like telling me it's the weather, the change of the weather. And I'm like, I don't know.
know. Maybe they're over your shoulder watching you write the book.
Right. So do you
and
know?
she got pissed off like, no, I didn't.
That's what I'm thinking.
Knock that down.
Do ghosts travel?
Oh my goodness. I think
Did
so.
she visit me?
Maybe when you went to the gravesite, she like clung on to you.
Yeah.
You know? But it's
yeah, that was creepy though. Like, talk about paranormal experiences.
Yeah.
I've never, you know, like I said, once again, I don't believe in that stuff.
Yeah.
But that was that a strange coincidence, right?
Yeah, it makes
Very
you
strange.
go.
Exactly. But it did me that day. I went, oh shit.
Right.
What was that?
Yeah. Unexplainable. No, it was not the weather. No, it was her. She said, no, I did not do it.
Yeah.
And I'll prove it. I think that this was definitely a great way to start the year.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And do you have anything that, well, I know everything right now is super crazy and it's hard to plan for the future, but I know you had a book signing. Do you have any more events or anything else that you were going to plan around the book?
Yeah. I've been putting the book out for book reviews and stuff, and like I said, I've been getting some really good reviews back.
Great.
People that really actually love the book.
Yeah.
I have a show that I'm going to be on next week, Wednesday, talking about the book. It's from Staten Island Community Television.
Hey, CTV.
It's, Mike Vesey does a show, so he invited me on. And whatever may be, I am actually... In my head, I am going to continue to study Lizzie Borden. Yeah. But I would say maybe in 2 years' times, might have another book out from a whole other different perspective of Lizzie Borden.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
But I am writing a book of short stories.
Ah.
Yeah, so I'm continuing my writing.
That's great.
It's pretty interesting. You know, probably in not this year, but the following year, I'll have it published.
Okay, good.
Because it takes you that long to write shit. But it's
how long does it take you to get it published once it's just done?
Once it's done,
as far as like the writing part.
Once you hand it in to print, it takes like 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, it's short. But yeah, so I have that, and I'm actually doing some music this year.
Ooh, yes.
So I mean, I have some things.
She's wearing all of her hats this year, you guys. Yes.
Listen, you're an artist. You dibble dabble in everything, right?
Yeah, you have to.
You know, it's a curse.
It is. It is. Right.
It really is. It
is. And then you're always like in the middle of the week, like I have no time for anything,
right?
Because I filled my time with everything.
It's so true.
You know, I honestly wouldn't have it any other way, because if we did, I wouldn't have met you and Kenny, and we wouldn't be able to have this awesome show, and we wouldn't be able to have such a great space for us to even be able to come up with ideas like these, you know? So,
what's up for you?
Well, right now, everything is kind of like weird, but just a few months ago, we just working, the team and I, we did venture and find some new businesses that we can just partner with and try and get some marketing and just content out there, since, you know, obviously we can't do many events and things like that. So we have the app that we're trying to push.
Yeah.
And I'm just, you know, just trying to be healthy with my mind. I think, you know, last year, a lot of my goals were to sharpen my creativity skills, right? So networking and doing more events and building relationships and things like that. But this year, I'm really focused on just bettering myself from the inside so that my work is more personable, you know? So my patience, I need to work on that. And I also need to work on my gratitude. You know, I know we were talking about it the other day at the book signing, just like us just naturally doubting ourselves whenever we're working on something, especially if it's something that other people are going to see and are obviously going to comment on. For people like us, where we create things for others to be inspired about, we actually have to care about what people think. You know, a lot of people are always like, oh, don't worry about what other people think. And I'm like, no, in my line of work, I have to worry about what other people think, you know? So it's always a battle. But I think, you know, having the show come back this week and having you guys, you know, you have your book out and Kenny's always like, listen, we got the show to film this week. You got to keep pushing, keep pushing. Like, those are the relationships that I think are going to be super important and very strong for me this year. Yeah. Those relationships, the people that are going to keep me going in the right direction. So I think that's really what I'm working on this year.
Yeah, and learning how to reach out to people in the community on an online situation. Yeah. That's been a challenge.
Me too. It's, you really know, because everything's, all the Zooms seem the same.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you know, just people's attention span. You're at home. You got the TV right here. You got your laptop here. You got the kids here. You got the dog there. It's a lot to focus on, you know?
Yeah, it's not coming out to like an A event where you're in it.
Yeah.
Like, you can be distracted very easily.
Yeah, it's so easy to be distracted. And then with school, trying to focus on that. And it's a lot. So I'm definitely trying to figure out ways. And what I've learned in these last few months is that it's okay to ask for help. And it's also really okay to be helped. Right. And so the last few months, I've been really helping other people with projects that they're doing, or just doing like extra work, or if a friend of mine is shooting a music video and they need extra people in the background, I'll go and just jump around and just, you know, just fill in the space or something, just to help somebody out, just because I miss that feeling, you know? So I've been doing a lot of that, just like low-key networking and things like that. But yeah, you know, it's weird for me because, like, I'm a millennial and all of the things that I was learning in my history books are literally happening right now.
Really?
Yeah. Well, not everything, but, you know, just like the chaos of the world right now.
Yeah.
And just, it's just so hectic. And
I didn't know they still had like history class in they really? Okay.
So it's just, you know, to see all of the politics the first week of 2021, very crazy.
Well, I have to say, and I'm not going to say anything except one thing politically. I'm glad we won the Georgia races.
Yeah.
With the two senators that were chosen. I'm really happy with that.
Yeah. And, we needed that. I'm hoping that this year we can just
get vaccinated.
Yeah.
I hope we can get vaccinated. No, I'm actually looking forward to getting vaccinated.
My dad got vaccinated.
Because a ton of people have gotten vaccinated, and they seem like they're okay.
They're okay, yeah. My dad got vaccinated every day. I'm like, you okay? You still look the same? You feeling good?
If it's going to help, let's just do it. Let's not, like, read into it too much. Let's just do it. Get vaccinated. Wear your masks. Lee and I have both been tested like a gazillion times, so
yes, we've been tested.
That's why we're here, not wearing masks right now, but wear your mask always.
Yes,
and
make sure to get the antibodies test too. I know that it's still very early; we're not really sure what the antibodies do or anything yet.
Yeah,
but
no clue.
It is still good to know that you have them in case. Yeah. But so one more look at the book before we head out, you guys. Make sure you get a copy. All right, and where can they find the book, Kim?
Amazon. I hate it. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Ex Libra. It's Ex Libris, which is the publishing company.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Boom. You guys, a great read.
Thank you so much for plugging my book. Thank
you. What? Thank you so much for plugging my name in the book.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I started crying when I seen it.
You?
I said,
oh, you're stupid.
Like, no, because I'm in the list of people who she tortured with all of the Lizzie Borden stories. And I don't care. I wouldn't change it for the world because I'm proud. I'm a proud friend right now. All right. Every time that anyone that I know personally finishes a goal, it makes me want to finish my goals. You know?
It is kind of feels good to finish, right? It's done.
You know, and so I can
onward.
Add this to my collection, and people like I can say I know this, like I know her personally. Okay, I know people out here.
She's acting silly now, but okay.
But I really am.
It's all good.
Proud of this piece of work. And we have lots more coming to you guys as far as here at the Hub from Kim, from myself, and from the other creators on the show.
If the Hub, if you're interested in doing a podcast or have an idea, reach out. Yeah. Reach out, talk to Kenny, see what you can do.
Yeah, definitely.
We're all set up here. We're set up to do music, everything. And it's pretty private studio, so...
and it's very accessible. We have COVID the bridge safe, right here, right there.
Right.
So definitely a good look. So you guys, we'll be back again Sunday, 7 p.m. every Sunday. If you know anyone who has a book coming out, who has a song coming out, who has a website coming out, or is hosting a Zoom event or anything like that and just has something that they want to share with others, make sure to find me, Girl on the Rocks. Yay. And if you want to get an awesome copy and even just dive into the other stories and just pick Kimbra's brain, you could always find her. What is your website? I know you have a website with
KimbraEberly.net.
There you go. See, she got the KimbraEberly.net. Okay,
I had .org though too, but I didn't set it up. I had both of them, but KimbraEberly.net's moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you guys check it out. She also has information about herself on the back of the book as well. But I think that you all should get to know Kim because she's an awesome person. And we'll be back next week.
Thank you. So are you, Dalia. Thank you for all you do.
Yes, of course.
Love you.
And I'm out of here. Have a great week, you guys. See you soon.